morning. Welcome to my core member health tracker. Actually, school year health tracker because I'm tracking data for more than just core members here. If you are interested in using this tool, this video will give you a brief overview of how to use it and what kind of information it will give back to you in terms of Excel capabilities. All right, let's take a look. First thing to know is these plus signs on the top row are groups. If you click them, they will expand and show you hidden columns. Okay. You cannot mess those up on purpose, so don't be nervous. Let's take a look at each group and talk in detail about what's happening there. So your first group is going to be, of course, your core member information. Let's take a look at the last row so you can see what is happening here. The first thing you want to do is enter your core member status, 1 CM first year or second year 2 CM. Then you'll enter their first name and last name, and you'll notice that their email address and a cell that includes first and last name will auto-populate based on your entries here. The email address is changing based on the status. So make sure that when you enter your core members' names that you are reflecting whether or not they are 1 CM or 2 CM, or this email address will be wrong. The second thing you want to double check for is anybody that has a double last name or a last name that includes a space, like Esther here. I am going to have to go in and manually type her email address to override what is being automatically generated by this formula, because if I try to send an email address or an email to an address with a space in it, it will bounce back. That is not a valid email address. You can also collect personal email addresses and campus email addresses in this tracker. Leave those blank. Delete them if you don't plan to use them and you are a person that is comfortable enough with Excel to try that. So that's what's happening in this first group of columns. I'm going to leave this second group of columns alone for now because it can be overwhelming, and you'll know more about what's happening there after we look at the rest of the groups. So let's move over to the right side of the screen and look at each one of these groups now. You'll notice that in the column that is unhidden, you'll see some very familiar acronyms and labels: learning circle, observation. In my cohort, we call debriefs one-on-ones, so we abbreviate those as O3s. Data submissions and virtual summits. Now, there are two different kinds of data that I'm going to be collecting: a simple yes, no, did you do it or did you not do it, and what day did you do this. Okay, so first thing, for each one of these pieces of data that you could collect, you can enter a date that event happened, learning circle, virtual summit, or the deadline that you want to have it by, data, your observations, and your debriefs. For anything where you see a checkbox, if a core member did it, it's just doing a simple calculation, yes or no. This core member did this core member did not. For the dated columns, you are going to actually enter the date that a core member completed a thing. So if I went to see Kieran on August 15th, and then we debriefed about what I saw in her classroom on August 23rd, boom, there is that information. That helps me keep Program Tracker nice and clean without having to go back and search my calendar for days and times that I met with core members or observed them in their classrooms. Very, very helpful. Okay. Now let's expand each one of these groups so you know what all those do. So first column, learning circles. Given that we will have a total of 16 learning circles, boom, put the date of each one in this row. When a core member attends, you check it off. You will do the exact same thing for data submissions, deadline that it is due, check it off when a core member submits. You'll also do the same thing to track your virtual summit attendance. Date that the summit was held, check if a core member was there. All right, now let's talk about all of the ways that you saw this spreadsheet start to blink and change and do math as you saw me enter data points. The first thing that is being tracked across this top row is the % completion of an item for your cohort. So as you give more core members credit for attending your first learning circle, for example, this % will start to go up. As you enter dates that you went and observed or debriefed with your core members, these numbers will start to go up. So you'll always be able to have a quick view of whether or not there is a particular action item or deliverable in your cohort that has an extremely low response rate. Okay. The second thing that is being generated is a calculation per core member. So let's go back to that group that I said I would come back to at the end. This column, this percent health, is just a quick summary view in number form, like a quantitative summary of how quote unquote healthy my core members are in terms of all of these things that I'm tracking. Learning circle attendance, me seeing them in their classrooms, us talking about what's happening, them submitting their data, and them attending virtual summits. So this percentage gives me a really rough estimation of how my core members are doing. So as I give core members credit for attending multiple learning circles, let's watch Brianna's number here, then her learning circle rate is going to increase. Until she hits that magic number 75. The color will change to yellow to let me know she has now reached the threshold for reaching or meeting requirements for that. Once she's over that number, all of those color warnings go away. The same thing is going to happen when I record each of my visits to her classroom. So if I go see her again on September 15th, and I see her again on October 13th, and I see her for the last time fall semester on November 12th, her observation rate at the end of the semester, with me wanting to see her 8 times this year, is now at 50%. That's how math works. Makes perfect sense. All right, the same thing will happen as I enter dates for her debriefs. Percent of O3s will go up, and then every time I give her credit for attending or for submitting her data percentage goes up. Same thing for virtual summits. Well, I will fix that, and then it will be the same thing for virtual summits. Something's wrong with that formula. So that's my health tracker for program requirements. I also have another simple tracker for tracking action items that don't actually have anything to do with licensure or program requirements. So if I want to track whether or not all of us have had our intro phone call, and I do, just type that there, the date that I want to have had all of those by. And as I have those conversations with my core members, I will just check those off. Here, the health is just calculating the number of check marks or the percentage of check marks that I have given that core member credit for. This tab is going to be where I track exactly the same thing for my campus. So I'm going to put all of my principals and instructional facilitators, or whatever their title may be at their campus, here. So Dr., Mr., Miss, first and last name, what campus they are connected to, their role there, because I do want to track information for both principals and instructional coaches if I have more than one contact at a campus. And then their email, same thing that's happening on this actions tracker for my core members will be happening here on this principal tracker for the folks that I am communicating with on each campus. This has been a much longer walkthrough than I hoped, but it was super duper thorough, and I hope you find this and my tracker helpful this year if you intend to use it.